Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BJJ Foxcast. I am your host, Alex Martinez, and today, again, for crying out loud,
no surprise,
I have the great and powerful Tojo Kray. Tojo, thanks for coming to the show.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this, man. So you're fresh off your hunt, man. Tell me about, okay, so for people who don't know about elk hunting in Arizona, how fucking hard is it to elk hunt in Arizona? Just to be selected to go on a hunt.
Well, to be selected, all right, so it very much depends. Like, there are shitty units out there where you can get drawn every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
I think is like probably the quickest you can get drawn. Well, it's a lottery draw. So technically, you could, if you were like the luckiest person alive, get drawn every year. But generally, the odds play out that like the shitty units, you're going to get drawn every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
The hard units, you're going to get drawn every 10.
So a unit is basically a plot of land that's sectioned off in Arizona. The entire state is sectioned off into all these little plots of land.
Think of them like counties.
Yeah, yeah. So it's sectioned off between like unit 1 to unit like 48 or whatever the hell it is, right? Mm-hmm. So you were in unit 1, which is out on the east end of the state.
New Mexico border between Sholo and Springerville, south of the 60.
Yeah,
yep.
and New Mexico had like the the trophy elk for a long time, right? I mean, maybe it was broken in like the Midwest or something.
I wouldn't say that it's trophy necessarily. I would say that the area is known for the highest population of respectable mature bulls.
Yeah, but didn't it have like that area? Didn't somebody like kill like the biggest elk or whatever the hell? Like for it was a record for a while, right?
There was a huge bull that was killed this year, velvet season, by A3. That was gigantic.
Where is A3?
They're an outfitter.
Oh, A3 Outfitters.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay. I thought that was a unit. Okay.
If I remember correctly, I remember seeing the picture of it. I don't really follow all that kind of stuff that closely, but I saw the bull and I was like, "Fuck, that's a big bull."
Yeah. So you were out there. You killed your bull in 11 days.
11 days. Yeah.
Archery hunt.
Archery. Yep.
And so tell me about the selection process. Like did you put in for unit 1? Like, because you put in for like 5 different hunts, right? When you actually apply.
Yeah. When you apply, you get 5 options. My thought process on that is that you can put in like for 5 different hunts.
Yeah.
But I think you have the best odds if you put in for the same one for all 5.
Okay.
I don't really fully understand
that would make sense.
I don't really understand their selection process. I got drawn in the second round, and I only put in for unit 1 this year. So
I don't even know what the second round means.
So the whole reason there's 5 options to put in. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So they'll do their first round of lottery, and they'll go through, and they'll like whoever gets drawn in that first thing, cool, you get a tag.
Yeah.
Then they'll do a second round, and my understanding is it goes down to your second option.
Oh, okay.
And it'll go through the second round, and then third round, and fourth round, and fifth round until all of the allotted tags are taken.
Gotcha.
Right, and now say there's a unit that doesn't have say one person puts in for a unit, he gets drawn in the first round, but then there's no one else who puts in, and then say they're allotted 10 tags for that hunt.
Yeah.
And only one person put in. Well, now they have 10 leftover tags, right? After they do the whole draw process, you can actually apply for those leftover tags. That's first come, first serve. Good fucking luck.
How? I mean, and everybody knows. Do they announce hey, we got some leftovers?
Yeah, you get an email, and it's mail in only.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so you basically have to make sure that your letter gets sent there and gets delivered the day of, and it's whatever letter they open up first, for that particular tag. So it's one of those don't fucking count on it.
Yeah. So unit 1 is really tough.
Unit 1 is, I would say, upper middle.
Okay.
All right. So in my opinion, the best units. So say you want to kill a 400 plus bull, a 400 inch plus bull. You want unit 9 or unit 10, which are just south of the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those bulls are eating and fucking surviving and drinking on the Grand Canyon, and they come and they just fucking, and when it's the rut, when it's their mating season, they drop down into unit 9, unit 10 looking for cows. But that's where you get the biggest, healthiest, maturest bulls.
Yeah.
because most of their life they're hanging out where you can't hunt them in the Grand Canyon
Smart.
National Park.
Yeah. So when I lived in Pennsylvania for 3 years, Northeast PA, lots of big deer out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason there's a lot of big bucks out there is because at the sound of the first gunshot, they move into town.
Mm-hmm.
Like they hang out under trampolines. You know what I mean? They
Yep.
just they're smart.
There's a lot of units like that.
Yeah.
22 has a herd. 22 North has a herd that like lives in Pine.
Yeah.
Like you'll be eating at like that brewery in Pine, and you'll see them walk down the fucking highway.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, so some units are better than others. Unit 1 is in particular has a high population of what I would call just fucking good mature bulls.
Okay.
Right. So I was there technically for 12 days.
Yeah.
Right. I killed on the 11th day. I hung out the next day so we had a camp of 5 tags, five bull tags, archery bull tags. 4 of us tagged out.
Wow.
And 4 of us had fucking awesome mature bulls.
Yeah.
Like,
how do you rate a mature bull? What does that mean?
so generally speaking, I would say like, if you're coming across a good 6x6, that's a mature bull, right? And it very much depends on the area. Like you'll see some areas where they have like the genetics that go into like how their antlers form. It's very particular to the region.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not even this is stuff that I've learned this in the past couple of weeks, like hanging out with fucking elk hunters. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, that's what a Unit 9 bull looks like. Right. And it's just like, that's a big, healthy, like thick horn bull. Like that's how you know he's a big mature bull. Like versus like, some like little 3x3, that's a young bull, right?
Yeah.
Like he hasn't fully matured, hasn't fully like grown his rack out.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like a 6x6 isn't necessarily a mature bull, right? Because if he has like nice short tines on it, he hasn't, like he's gonna
fully matured.
He's gonna be a big 6x6 if you give him another year or two.
Yeah. And is that like, I mean, you can, I'm just guessing here, but like you can really tell from the brow tines, right? Like the brow tines really tell a story.
I mean, honestly, like it's usually their 4 and 5s. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like for a big elk, like you see those huge, like those like swords coming off the top of their antlers. It's like that's how you know he's a real big mature bull. But like most of them are gonna, if they're 4 and 5 or 4th and 5th tines are like huge.
Yeah,
everything probably below that's gonna be pretty big. Like it's elk are really really cool species. Like man, they like there's no like it's so hard to like to say like to describe this like in words, but it's just like you see a bull and you're like, that's a mature bull.
Majestic.
Yeah, everything about it just looks like he's got thick tines, he's got nice long like brow tines, 2nds, 3rds, 4ths, 5ths. Yeah, like that's a big mature bull.
That's cool.
And the Unit 1 is just like known for like not necessarily like world record breakers. Like there are 400 plus bulls, but it's not known for like, oh, every bull here is going to be 400 plus. That's 9 and 10. If you want a big 400 plus inch bull, like you're going to 9 and 10, but you're also going to wait 20 years.
Wow.
Or like 10 to 20 years, like to get drawn for those tags.
Yeah.
Right. Unit 1 is just like you have a huge amount of like what I would call is just like a classic mature bull. Like you just look at that bull and you're like, that's what when I see a picture of a bull elk, that's what I see.
How far are they from like say like Utah and Nevada? Like how far are they from there?
As far as like
proximity, like
I mean they're pretty far. Like,
yeah,
because you see like from Unit 1, you still have north of Unit 1, you still have all the 3 units, 3 ABC that are above that. And then you have the reservation. Like it's
gotcha. So there's a giant gap between.
Yeah.
I thought I that's right. The res is pretty empty.
Yeah, I would say that like Unit 1 is more mid.
Yeah.
Like middle, like as far as like north south goes in Arizona, like you still have a lot of latitude to get to, like as far as going north. Like but Utah definitely has huge elk too.
Yeah. So you mentioned a 300 and a 400 bull. What does that mean?
So the way that you measure bulls, like so you have like the whole main beam, right? Like you've seen like an antler system, right? Like there's like from the base of the skull all the way to the tip, right? That's the main beam, right? So you'll measure that, and then you'll measure the length of each tine from there, right? And then you'll measure the thickness between each tine. So between tine one, so the the brow tine and the second tine, you'll measure the smallest point between those two. Then you'll measure the smallest point between 2 and 3, and 3 and 4, and 5 and 6, or whatever it is, right?
And that's the total inches that you're looking for?
Yep. And you'll measure all of that, and you'll add it all up, and then you'll also measure the width at the widest point, and you add all of that up, and that equals its score, right?
Yeah.
So
are you doing just one side and multiplying by 2 and then measuring across?
Nope.
It's all one side.
You have to so you do measure one side, and then you measure the other side, and then you do the width.
No shit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So if you have a bull that's lopsided, your score is going to suck.
Yeah.
My bull measured. So we measured it out, and this is very amateur, right? Because you can definitely go to like the Game and Fish and have them like have it professionally measured.
Yeah.
But my bull measured out to 313. I was looking for 313 and a quarter, if you want to be specific. I was looking for a perfect, 300 plus, perfect 6x6 symmetrical. My bull was almost perfectly symmetrical, which was like I was super stoked about. 6x6, awesome mature bull.
Yeah,
which is exactly what I wanted.
So whenever you watch like hunting shows, other than maybe Meat Eater, like Meat Eater is like really true to the difficulties of hunting. Like
Solo Hunter.
Yeah, Solo Hunter is a real good one. But for the most part, like if you look at a hunting show, it's literally like an hour and a half ad of like, oh, use this fucking cooler and this blind and this bow and this arrow and all this shit. But when you look at like Meat Eater especially, like he really shows Ranella, right?
Yeah.
Steve Ranella.
Steve Ranella.
He shows like how shitty it can be,
Yeah.
right? And how heartbreaking it can be.
Well, there's episodes where they don't kill anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So the reason I preface like the next portion of this with that is because you had a couple misses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people don't understand. Mm-hmm. Like there are some struggles out there when you're shooting at like, 50 plus yards and you're shooting at an animal that's moving through the brush and you have to figure out like where you got to kind of anticipate where he's going to go and where your shot is. So talk about that. Talk about those misses.
Sure. So like, I think a big thing that, especially people who like shoot at the archery range or gun range for that matter, right? Like that's perfect conditions.
Yeah.
Right. You're sitting there.
Even with wind, it's still perfect.
Yeah. Like today's windy as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Say like you have a day that's super fucking windy. That's still super easy when you're sitting at a line. There's no pressure. You're shooting at a carpet or a foam target, right? Just out there at like whatever, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 yards. That's easy.
Yeah.
Right? That's easy. We shot our bows almost every single day, like during lunch. Like we would come back from the morning hunt. We would, eat lunch or eat brunch, right? Eat our late breakfast or whatever. We'd shoot our bows, like, from like, 30, 40, 50, all the way out to like 80 or 90 yards, just like making sure that we're just like staying in practice.
Yeah.
But like the difference between shooting a still target, a foam target versus like being in the moment where you're like, the wind's blowing, you don't know if this bull's going to move like right after you release your arrow. You don't know that like he's going to hear you draw your bow, like cuz sometimes when you fall into that, into the valley of your draw cycle, so you're shooting compound bow, like it gets, softer at the back end. They call that the valley, right? So it gets lighter, so you're holding your bow could be like a 70-pound bow, but you're really only holding like 15 pounds in the back end, right? So that's the valley, right? So as you pull into the valley, sometimes that like when your draw stop hits that rope or that string, right? It kind of like clicks. You don't know. He might hear that, bonk, and he hears that and he might take off, or he might not. You don't know. Or maybe he's just gonna sit there and then like you have like a 4-foot like window to shoot this bull, and he's just sitting there. You ranged him, you draw back, you're settling in on his vitals, and he just takes 2 steps and he's out of your world.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's dense. It's not like necessarily what you see in Solo Hunter or in Meat Eater, where you're like, oh, they're wide open. They're like, they have all day. Like they make it even those shows that like do a really good job of showing like what hunting really is. It's not even like what it really is.
Yeah.
Because like, so 11 days, I was on mature bulls almost every single time I went out.
Wow.
Not every single day. I want you to remember, we wake up at 4:15, 4:20, 4:30. We're out listening for bugles before the sun comes up, trying to figure out where the bulls are. And we're on them like as the sun is coming up.
Wow.
One morning, I was literally 20 feet from a huge bull screaming, right? I'm sitting here. I go full draw, and I'm like, I can't see this bull through my peep because it's too dark.
Yeah.
Right? So I draw my bow. He's screaming. He's fucking doing his bugling thing. Like he's looking for other elk. And I'm like, I can't shoot this bull because I can't see him.
Yeah.
Right? Through my peep. It's just so dark. It's like just before the sun comes up.
Yeah. Are they bugling to like mark territory? Are they bugling to push, the cows? What are they bugling for?
Yes.
All of the above?
All the above. So they're like, so the bulls want to talk to the cows, right?
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, come here, right? Let's mate. But they also want to tell the bulls like, hey, this is my territory. Don't come fuck with me.
Yeah.
And
or you're going to get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't even realize necessarily, like, I mean, I did a lot of research coming up to this because this was my first elk hunt, that the biggest bulls aren't the ones that talk, aren't the ones that are talking.
No shit.
So think about it this way. If you're the biggest bull on the mountain and you have all of the cows, why the fuck would you let all of the other bulls who want your spot know where you are?
Yeah.
So you'll sit there and bugle. You'll get responses from other bulls bugling, but they're not the biggest bull on the mountain or in the area, right?
Yeah.
The biggest bulls are generally the quietest.
They'll
still bugle. It's still in their instincts to like kind of bugle. That's like kind of like the whole process of like how they're yelling at their cows, like, hey, come over here, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, like they are the quietest. The loudest ones, like, so James Kilgore and I, like the second day that we were out there, we were on this little tiny squeaker, like a young bull. He screamed every fucking like 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow.
Like he was just like, this is my voice. I'm yelling. He had no cows around him, but he screamed often.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of like, in my opinion, like from or not my opinion, but from what I noticed is that like the bull, it's not necessarily like the deepness of the voice. Cause a lot of people are like, yeah, the big mature bulls have this big throaty, like they sound like a bear screaming through a tube. Right. Versus like the squeaker bulls, which are like the kind of like the younger ones that have like this kind of high pitched squeal, but like it's not like throaty. I think a bigger representation of like what a mature bull versus a young bull is how often they were bugling. Because like there was a bull that screamed that was like I said, like a fucking grizzly bear screaming through a fucking bugle tube was what it sounded like. And I got on him, he was a fucking monster, right? Yeah. But I also got on a bull that was like sounded like a squeaker. Like he was just like kind of high pitched. I got on him. He was also a monster. Wow. So generally speaking, the lower, deeper, throaty bugles are generally going to be bigger, more mature bulls. But that's not the rule. That's, sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it's not. But what I found is that like the ones that are bugling the most are probably going to be the smaller bulls.
Wow, that's wild, dude.
Yeah.
That's why I would not expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are just kind of like, they're by themselves.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, come look at me. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with me. Like, that's basically what they're saying, right? They're like telling all the other bulls and cows, hey, I'm here. Come here. Yeah. Right? And the big bulls are like, I already got all my cows. Like, I don't need to come hang out with you. Yeah. So I'm not going to say anything.
Right. What about the cows barking?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that like?
It's
they're basically ratting you out. Right?
Yeah. It's really wild. Anybody who's like hunted deer has seen it, like with deer, because deer will like a doe will pound their hoof into the ground. Yep. And they'll kind of like, yep. They'll like kind of make that like wheeze kind of noise like that. It's like this similar thing, but like the cows make this bark, and it's like it literally sounds like a bark. Like the first time I heard it,
like a dog bark.
Yeah. But it's like way louder.
No shit.
And way like it like reverberates. Like I literally the first time I heard one,
and you're sitting there like, bitch, shut up.
I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't want you. I want him. Yeah. No, but it was like startling.
But are they like are they doing it to like protect the bull?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, not necessarily. I mean, yes, but it's more to protect the herd.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
They're just letting everyone in their group know that like, hey, something's not right in this area.
It could be a wolf.
But it's not quite like if they see you running at them, they're gonna run away.
Yeah.
Right? They're not gonna bark at you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like a dog. Right.
Right.
It's more of like, hey, something's fucking up. I don't know what it is, but we should be fucking careful. That's like basically what it means, right? Because it's not like I had this cow bark at me like 3 times, and she's just like sitting there bark. I can't even replicate the sound. It's just like a dog bark, right?
Yeah.
But it comes out of a cow, and it's just like.
But do they do it like a dog would, like over and over, or is this like one
single.
time? Yeah.
It's just like roar, and you're just like, what? and while they're sitting there, you'll be like dead still behind a bush or something, and they'll be sitting there staring at you, and you're just, I'm not going to fucking move. And sometimes you get away with it. Sometimes they just look past you.
Yeah.
Because their vision's not great.
It's based on movement, right?
It's more based on movement. Yeah. So they're waiting for you to move, and they'll just fucking bark, and they'll just like a single bark, and they'll sit there. And they'll look, and you'll see them like kind of pick their nose up, and they're smelling, trying to catch your smell or trying to see you move or whatever.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck is this thing?
Right.
Yeah.
But they're basically just telling their herd, just like, something's fucking wrong around here.
Yeah.
And then they'll slowly push off. Sometimes slowly. These 2, 3. There was a cow, a young cow, and a bull. The older one barked at me. I didn't fucking move him, fucking muscle. I'm sitting here staring at these guys for like a half an hour. Bark, 5 or 10 minutes later, bark, 5 or 10 minutes later, bark, and then they slowly just kind of like pushed out of the area.
Okay. Do they feel like safe? Like this thing's like not doing anything, so we're okay?
Who knows, man?
Yeah.
I don't know. They didn't spook off. It's like you definitely know, like when you get made, like they just fucking book it.
Yeah. And is it like a mama elk that's like the more mature one that kind of takes care of everybody else, or just whoever sees you?
I just think it's whoever sees you.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they necessarily think like I'm trying to protect my young.
Yeah.
Like a bear does.
Yeah.
I think they're just like, I'm just letting the herd know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like, I think it's more herd mentality than it is like mom mentality.
Well, I just think of
because
it
bulls
like,
will bark too.
Yeah. Yeah. The only experience I have with that is like turkey.
Yeah.
Like turkey is like you have the hen. You like the main hen. She's the one that barks out all the orders, and she's the one that's chirping and stuff like that. Yeah. All the other ones pretty much follow her lead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it sounds like elk are like somewhat independent in that, they kind of look out for the herd on their own.
Yeah.
But they're kind of loyal to the bull too, right?
No.
They're not.
I would say they're not. I mean, from what I observed, like once like the quote unquote all hell breaks loose, nobody gives a fuck about anybody. Because like there was a couple times where I had like kind of like got really close to the bull and got made by a cow, and they start kind of like the cows will take off, and the bulls are usually the last to leave. The bulls are kind of like, well, what, is there another cow over there? Like they're always like, that's what they're like during the rut. That's what they're thinking. They're like, is there another cow? Like, cause sometimes like they'll hear a crunching in the woods. The cows will take off cause they're more skittish. And the bulls will be thinking like, like, is that more pussy over there? Yeah.
Or maybe like somebody challenging them, right? Like,
or that, or another bull. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend in camp who was like, literally like they heard a bugle over the hill, and they were just like, well, let's fucking run to the top of the hill. And they ran to the top of the hill to like get ready to like start looking for this bull. And the sound of them running to the top of the hill provoked the bull to run to the top of the hill. Whoa. Because he was like, oh, someone's coming in on my turf.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like, I'm like, that, I mean, that's another thing they're thinking. They hear that running. Like, the nice thing about hunting elk is like, elk are so large that like, they don't really have any direct predators unless they're young.
Yeah.
Right. Like a bull elk has almost nothing to fear from the wildlife.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like even a black bear isn't taking it on a bull elk.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that you have that benefit, but like it's still in their instinct to like, be weary of, other noises.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But like when it's rut season and bulls are, trying to, challenge each other, like, yeah, if they hear a bull charge in, they're like, oh, fuck no.
Yeah.
I need to challenge that bull. But with that cow that I was talking about, like who spooked off and the bull kind of hung out for a little bit, she left her calf.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a calf, and the calf couldn't get over the fence. Like they hopped over this fence, this cow fence, like a moo cow fence, and like this little I'm watching this calf just go back and forth, trying to jump over this fence or looking for an opening in this fence. It was like really like pathetic and sad.
Yeah.
I mean, they end up finding each other, right? Because they like there's calf calls, there's cow calls, 4 calves, like.
Yeah.
But like this calf was like just like, oh no, my mom left me, and was like kind of going back and forth on this like barbed wired fence, and like couldn't get over the fence or couldn't figure out like it could jump over the fence, but it was like too scared to like just
give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it eventually just like kind of like ran off. But like I saw that on 2 different occasions where like the mom basically was like, peace, little guy, you know, like at that when they like really think they're in danger, like they're like, I'll just make another calf.
Yeah.
I think is probably what's on their mind. Like they don't really worry too much about that kind of stuff.
Sorry, I sneezed. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. But so and then you know we're talking about like bugles, we're talking about barks, and then there's the cow call. Yeah. And when people think cow call, they think moo, right? Mm-hmm. But it's really like the baby calling mom. Right?
Yeah, kind of.
It's like a squeal. I think of it
more like a meow.
Yeah, it's almost like if you inflate a balloon and then you kind of control the amount of air that comes out at the end. It kind of sounds like that, right?
It's kind of like a high pitch that like kind of like drops off into a lower pitch, like meow.
Yeah,
meow. Like that's kind of like how the sounds like. And they have like there's different cow calls that you can have, but there's like different cow calls. Like there is like a cow call. Like, so there's lots of different kind of elk vocalizations that you'll mimic like as you're hunting, right? So there's like the typical like bugle, which is more of a locator call. Like you're just kind of like you start low and you like kind of raise into that high pitch, and then you kind of like quickly drop off on the top. That's kind of like that standard like locator bugle. Yeah. And then there's like the bugle with the chuckle, which from my experience has been like just typically like it's just like some bulls bugle with a chuckle, some bulls bugle without a chuckle. And that's just that like like you know, that kind of sound. You know, and some do and some don't. And then there's the cow call, which is kind of like starts high and it's like meow, meow, which is kind of like saying like, hey, I'm a cow. Hey, where's everyone at?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But so like you'll hear in like a herd, you'll like be like in a herd, and you'll hear like the locator bugle from the bull, and then you'll hear different cows kind of just like meow, 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 you know, making this noise. But you'll hear a lot of noise coming from calves. Like so like the herd will be moving because like basically the bull kind of directs where the herd goes, right? So the bull will be kind of like pushing off in a particular direction, most likely away from, like if it's a herd bull, he's mostly pushing his cows away from another bull. Gotcha. Right? Because he's like, these are my cows. Let's go. Yeah. Right. That's basically what the bull is telling. Because there's a locator bugle, and then there's a bugle that's basically directed at the cows and calves, saying like, come here. Gotcha. Which is more like throaty and raspy. Yeah. Basically saying like, come here, ladies, come here. Wow. Right. And then there's the calf call, which is like, where is everyone? And it's more of like a high pitched cow call. Yeah. And you'll hear that like constantly. Like if you're on a herd that has a couple of calves, those calves are like almost constantly making noise. No kidding. Yeah, it's really cool. And then the cows are less often, and then the bulls are even less often. Isn't it wild how you can smell them? Oh yeah. Isn't that wild? Even even if they're not there, like if they were there just prior, you can still smell them. Stink. Yeah. And like the especially during rut, the bulls are pissing all over themselves. Yeah. They're rolling in mud, pissing on themselves. Like, oh, they're disgusting. That's how you get the ladies, man. It's sexy. Yeah, it's sexy. You should try it. I'm gonna try later. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's cool, man. Like the whole. So I was, like I said, I hunted for 11 days before I killed. I was on bulls every single day. Wow. I was on bulls every single day. Yeah. Like it was fucking awesome. Like and they were never. I would say like we were never there during full rut. We were almost entirely pre-rut. No kidding. Yeah, like we saw some rut action where like the bulls are like fighting each other. Yeah, like locking horns. I saw that. So I saw that opening the day before opening out in the meadow, and then I didn't see it again until day 8, and then again maybe day 10.
Wow.
But
Wow.
like they were like not in full rut during the time that I was up there.
Yeah.
Like they every morning they'll bugle, and every evening they'll bugle. But like there wasn't any like where you could call a bull in, like you see in a lot of videos where people are like bugling and then a bull comes rushing in.
Yeah,
Like they were not in that point yet.
Wild, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, so for people who don't know, I mean, I'm not, very schooled in this kind of area, but elk are so easy or so difficult to predict because they go through seasons.
Yeah.
Right. And if you catch them in the wrong season,
All of them do. Deer.
Yeah, but
Moose, elk. Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know how often deer herd up as bachelors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But elk do. Right.
Deer absolutely bachelor.
No kidding.
They all bachelor. All of the ungulate species bachelor. So deer, moose, caribou.
So explain to everybody what that means.
So bacheloring is like just so for elk. We'll just use elk since it's elk season. All summer or from spring to summer, elk grow their antlers. So a lot of people don't know that they drop their antlers in the winter.
It's like fingernails, right? I mean,
they're like if you grew an arm without skin.
Yeah.
Because it's bone.
Yeah, it's bone.
Like
yeah.
antlers are bone, but they grow them and then they drop them every year.
Yeah.
So the elk now that are growing they're all hardhorn now, bro. Like they'll grow their antlers and they'll probably drop their antlers sometime in January. Right. And then starting in the spring, they'll start growing their antlers. So if you've ever seen an elk or a deer in velvet where they have those like fuzzy antlers, that's the growing process. And then after the growing process is done, they'll literally like shed that like velvet off, and it's like a bloody, disgusting mess.
They scrape it on trees and they do
exactly.
all that. Yeah,
And if you've ever seen it, Google it. If you haven't seen it, Google it. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's literally a bloody mess.
I wonder if it's painful.
I would imagine it's probably a little bit of like when you scrape a scab off, where like it kind of hurts, but it causes
kind of feels good.
It feels good.
Yeah, almost like
time.
a satisfying scratch.
Yeah,
yeah, like ringworm.
Yeah. Like staph.
Like staph.
When you scratch a staph infection.
Yeah.
But every year it's the fastest growing bone in the animal kingdom.
Wow.
is deer or elk antlers.
Wow.
So if you've seen like a big say a big 7x7, they grow all of that shit in like 4 months.
Whoa, no kidding.
Yeah. So they grow all of
shit.
that in velvet, which is like up until for elk, it's like up until June, July, and then they scrape off that velvet, and then come August, September, they're all hard horned.
Yeah. Is it important to you to hunt with a bow rather than a gun, or do you care?
I'm not against hunting with rifle, but it is definitely way cooler to kill something with a bow.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it feel like? I mean, you had several shots. Obviously, the 11th day was a kill
I know
shot.
we haven't gotten.
No,
to
that's okay.
misses,
We'll get back to it. It's not that important. I'm more curious about like that, because I've killed a deer with a rifle, and it was like you're excited, but then you do it, you're like meh.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What? Tell me about the whole process of shooting that deer. Like I can imagine like your heart rate. Were you able to control your heart rate, or were you kind of like holy shit?
I think this is different for every person.
Yeah.
For me, I find that when it comes to the crunch time, I am very capable of closing off that excitement. Right. There's like buck fever or bull fever is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Where people draw back their bow, and so I was hanging out with Ronnie Michael, his brother Chris. He'll tell you he killed a bull like day 3, but he'll tell you he was like, I drew back my bow and I fucking couldn't settle my pin. He was like shaking, like his arm was just like he's like I couldn't settle that pin. For me, when I draw on an animal, it just like goes into like game mode. Like when I pull that, I draw that bow back, I get it settled. Like everything else goes quiet in my brain. Like I just like I settle in, and I don't get like that that nervous, like, oh shit, what if I miss? What if this happens? Oh no, I'm about to kill the biggest bull in my life, or something like that. Like I don't fall into that anxiety.
Where do you think that comes from?
Maybe I'm a psychopath.
Could be.
I honestly don't know. I think it's I spend a lot of time thinking about like, it's so hard to like kind of like pinpoint, because it's like it's real easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm mentally prepared for it, but like when I'm like thinking, when I'm like practicing archery, like I'm always thinking like, go through my process, draw the bow back, settle my pin, slowly squeeze, that kind of stuff. Like I go through that process in my mind, regardless of whether or not it's a foam target, carpet target, if I'm shooting broadheads, if I'm shooting a bear shaft, am I shooting at elk or a deer? Like, I don't know. For me, it's just like, it's never really been, there have been times where I've drawn back on an animal where I'm like, oh shit, this is it. But then I've always been able to like, kind of like, okay, settle down and take that deep breath and settle. Right. Which I think
you're in full draw.
As I'm in full draw.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the first deer I killed was like that, where I was like, oh shit, this is going to be my first fucking archery kill. This is going to be awesome. And I'm like super, super excited, super jittery. And I'm like, chill.
Yeah.
I kind of like talk to myself. I'm like, relax. You're not going to make a good shot if you're fucking like being super aggro right now. So I like settle into my process. I'm like, for me, I'm always like, what I tell myself, I'm like, it's just another target. It's just another target. So I'll settle back. I'll pull back, and I'm like, you'll always have that like that jitter, like you'll feel your heart rate, kind of pacing or whatever. And I'll draw back, and I'll look at that animal, and I'm like, this is a fucking big elk, or this is a big deer, or whatever it is, right? Or javelina, or whatever. You're drawn back, and I'm like, okay, but it's just another target. And
okay.
And I'll take that one breath, and then I'll settle my pin, and then just follow my process. Because it's so, it's almost surreal, like the fact that like, so when you're like, anybody who's ever shot archery knows that like it's different than shooting a rifle, because like, so if you go to like a gun range and you're sitting on this concrete bench, with a rest, that the pin or the crosshairs don't fucking move.
Yeah,
you put it right on the whatever spot you're trying to shoot, and all you're trying to do is just not. All you're trying to do is like hold that stock into your shoulder and slowly squeeze that trigger without like without manipulating the rifle. Right. That's all it is. The crosshairs are not moving; they're sitting on the target. You're like, I'm going to squeeze this trigger without manipulating that crosshair at all. Right. Archery is not like that, or shooting offhand. Like if guys who shoot like 3-gun, they know. Yeah. This is very similar to the guys who shoot 3-gun. Like.
And 3-gun being like a rifle, a shotgun, a pistol.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're standing upright and you're aiming at something, you can't hold that rifle, pistol, shotgun still.
Yeah,
it is impossible.
Yeah, when I would teach people how to shoot rifles, we were shooting like M16 A2s at the time, and I would tell them, I was like, just picture yourself like you're a platform. Mm-hmm. Okay, your job is to hold the rifle on target. However, you're a living, breathing thing. Yeah. So there's going to be like a figure 8 that you're going to do. And your job is to continuously squeeze and make the figure 8 as small as you can.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised how many times you'll hit the target just doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your mind will like, if you let your mind take over, you're going to want to like what they call punch the trigger.
Yep.
You're right, because you have this figure 8, right? And the like X the 8 makes in the middle, right, is the bullseye, right? Yep. And what if you're trying to let your mind take over and do the work for you, you'll want to punch that trigger right as it crosses that center line.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they call punching the trigger, which some people are good at. Some people are really good at. Some people aren't. Most people aren't. Most 99.9% of people cannot shoot like that.
Yeah, I can't.
You will be very inaccurate.
Yeah. What
you need to do is just trust that float. So a good analogy that I've heard from Joel Turner, Shot IQ. If you don't follow him, I recommend you guys follow him. He's one of the best guys for rifles or archery. Like he's an ex like not special forces, but like kind of like SWAT kind of guy.
Okay.
But like kind of like transitioned his stuff into archery. His son is like 17 or something like that. I think he has the record for the top X's scored in a tournament.
Wow.
He is a fucking savage.
Yeah.
Right. But basically, what his analogy is, it's like, think about when you're driving down the highway. How often are you really thinking, I need to be in the center of this lane?
Never.
You're usually thinking about like, oh, work sucked, my wife hates me, blah blah blah, right?
Right.
And you're driving, but you're staying within the lanes. He's like, that's the mindset you want to do when you're aiming. You aim, okay, and then once you've aimed, now it's all about trigger control, right? Pull in archery, you're squeezing your scapula together. You're drawing, you're pulling your elbow back. You're squeezing, you're pulling back into the back wall of your bow, right? Your left hand, your bow hand is already aimed. Just stay in the lanes.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you just do that, and you slowly go through your process of squeezing or pulling that trigger, like pulling into the back wall until you release.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not automated. Like it's all 100% like I'm putting thought into the trigger control, but that's where your thought is, into the trigger control, not into the aiming. Most people focus on the aiming.
Yeah. And me included.
Right.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah.
Like 99 out of 100 people are focusing on where's that pin at on that target, right? You already put that pin on the target. You've already aimed. That process is over. Now it's about executing your shot, right?
Yeah.
And you're focusing on staying in the lane, which I think is the best way to describe it.
I love that analogy. Yeah,
right?
it's really good.
It's a perfect analogy because it's like you don't think about driving in the lanes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, every once in a while, like, oh, I'm drifting. Boom. you move over, right?
Yeah.
But not like if like you drive home from work, it's like how much of that did you think about staying in the lanes?
Zero. Yeah, I really don't think about it at all.
Yeah. Very, very little.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's how you should think about aiming. It's like your mind already knows where to be. Mm-hmm. Now let's just figure out how to pull a trigger without moving off into the left lane or moving off into the right lane.
Yeah. What's your process?
So for me, like, again, I settle in, I find that target, I settle my pin in, and I immediately think like, all right, I'm about to execute a shot. I start figuring out where my trigger is. So I wrap my finger around my trigger and I slowly just, again, I make sure my shoulders are nice and like, because a lot of people like will kind of like let their shoulders sag or whatever. I make sure my posture is good. Yep. Right. And it's like, make sure I'm in position here. And I just slowly start squeezing and kind of like pull my finger through. But it's more like, I don't have like a mantra. Some guys have like a mantra. Like mine is just like it's kind of like
quit being a bitch.
Without like saying anything to myself. It's more or less just like it's go time. Yeah, and
that's kind of a mantra, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But it's very less like
it helps flip that switch.
Some people have like a step by step, like here we go. Squeeze the trigger, or start pulling my shoulders together. They have
too much shit.
They have steps. Yeah, I don't have a lot of steps. I sink that pin into that into like whatever the sweet spot is of that animal that I'm shooting. Yeah, and I just like wrap my finger and I just start going.
Yeah. So were you the shot that you took? Was it heart lung? Yay!
Brownies and ice cream.
Brownies.
I don't want ice cream. I just want brownies.
Thank you. You have it. Say hi to everybody.
Hi. What camera am I looking at?
All of them.
All of them.
Okay, that one. And then over here. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Am I get?
Kelsey Weisman, everybody. Kelsey Weisman. Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you. But yeah, I don't really have necessarily a shot process, or at least it's very truncated. Like I said, I'm really good at like being able to like get that panic part out. Like I've definitely had that, like I've taken bad shots before, and we can talk about that here. Like literally this week, I took a couple bad shots, and after the fact, I was like, yeah, I could have mitigated that. Yeah. But generally I don't.
Before we get to the bad shots, Was your shot like heart lung, double lung? What was it?
Dude, so the truncated version of this of the kill was we got back to our truck. We heard a bugle about 100 yards down the fence line that we were parked on. I start moving with my bow. Ronnie starts running up on me. He's like, wait up. We see the fucking cows jumping this fence. And the bull's always pushing the cows, so the bull's always last to jump the fence. So we get down the shooting lane, and we're waiting. We're looking down the shooting lane, and we see the bull cross the shooting lane. Ronnie mews, the cow calls. He stops. Ronnie ranges 70 yards. I dial my pin to 70 yards, and Ronnie's just like, meow, meow, meow. Just basically like talking to this bull. I draw my bow at 70 yards, and I settle it on him, and I'm looking at him.
What was the bull doing this whole time?
Just staring at us.
Wow.
Yeah. 70 yards down the like between like this whole row of trees, 70 yards looking at us. And I'm looking at this bull. I'm like, he's too big to miss. That's like literally what I thought. I was like, this bull is too big.
You're so used to shooting at this little spot, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And this bull is like literally like think about like the side of a cow, like a moo cow. Like you go to like you're driving down like the dairy farms or whatever. Like think about that's the size of an animal like that, right? That's what this cow, this bull looks like. He's standing there broadside. He's just staring right at us. So I settle my pin right in the middle, right above his elbow. So like a lot of people don't realize this. So like right where his leg hits his like connects where his body is.
Yeah.
The bones in his arm go 45 degrees towards his front, and then another 45 degrees back towards his shoulder blade.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's like that perfect triangle right there where his heart and his lungs live.
Wow.
But with an elk, like those lungs go way farther back. You can like literally shoot an elk like center mass, and you're gonna fucking double lung him.
Whoa.
But I was aiming like right above his elbow, because that's what I shoot for deer. Right above his elbow. I'm aiming right there, and I'm like, he's too big to miss. So I'm like sitting there 70 yards, squeezing, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill this fucking bull. Like I literally was thinking like, he's just fucking hanging out here. I'm gonna kill this bull. Fling, that bow goes flying, and you hear if you're not an archery hunter, you don't know. There's a sound that an arrow makes when it hits perfectly on a deer, a javelina, an elk, whatever it is.
What does it sound like?
It's just like this hollow thud, the you just know you're like, I
got him.
Yeah, because there's a sound that it makes when it hits bone, and then there's a sound when it makes when it hits the fucking lung cavity of this fucking animal, where it's like double lung, right? And I fucking hit it, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Did it start like bleeding like right away?
No, actually.
Whoa.
So I was shooting fixed broadheads versus like usually for deer or javelina, I'll shoot a mechanical broadhead. Has a nice big, like they open up as they hit the animal, right? They have a nice big wound channel that they create. But the problem is you lose a lot of energy. So for bull elk, I was going to shoot a fixed broadhead because I didn't want to lose any energy with hitting this. I'd rather have it through and through and have two small holes than one big hole and then no hole on the other end.
So that's the one that's like a triangle with 3 blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah. Mine is a fixed broadhead that has like this big like just picture like a regular like Native American like arrowhead, like kind of like that but made out of steel, and then it had 2 bleeder blades that are like perpendicular to that.
Okay.
But much smaller.
Yeah.
All right. So I hit this bull, and Ronnie looks at me. He's like, "Did you hit him?" I was like, "Dude, I watched that arrow drop right into his vitals. It looked good." So we go over there. He's 70 yards, right? So we go over there with like very little blood, but I knew that he ran towards the fence that he just jumped over.
Yeah.
So he jumped. I'm 99% sure that he jumped back over that fence. We get over there. I'm like, we're not seeing anything at the time, right? So I'm like, fuck, did I miss? You just start questioning.
Of course. Right? Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden I see like a few drops of blood. And I'm like, oh fuck yeah,
Nailed.
I hit him. I definitely hit him. I at least hit him.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, I've definitely hit him. Right. And then so we're looking for spots, because a lot of times when they jump the fence, like when they hit the ground on the other side of the fence, they'll have that like squirt of blood out. But we didn't see that. right? So we're like looking around. I'm like, all right, maybe he didn't jump the fence. Maybe he ran the line or something. But we're like kind of looking, and I just saw the couple of drops of blood where which was halfway between where I shot him and where the fence was. I'm like, okay, so he's definitely bleeding. He definitely ran towards the fence. So we hop the fence. I crawl under it because I'm small.
Right. Yeah.
So I crawl under the fence. Ronnie's a little bit, maybe 10 yards ahead of me, and he finds a fucking 8x8 pool of blood in the bottom of this wash.
Whoa.
Like, cause there's like.
So he had to jump in it.
No, he's like jumped a fence, and it's when I say wash, it was like kind of like just a roll.
Oh,
like,
gotcha. Okay.
Just kind of like a low spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's good blood. Oh, he's definitely dead. I just have to find him.
Yeah.
I look up over the hill of where that thing is, and I see him piled up under a tree.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean,
how was he laying? Was he like on his side and you saw his belly?
No, he was kind of like, well, he was definitely on his side, but like I saw his antlers.
Oh, okay.
First.
Okay. Yeah.
First and foremost, I saw his antlers just kind of sticking up in the air. And like between like the time I shot and where we actually went and looked for him, it was probably honestly like a half an hour. Because you don't want to like rush after him because like you could push him farther than you want. So you shoot him. If they don't stop and give you a second shot, you fucking back off. Right? Because you want him to sit there and be like, because like, think about like the most like adrenaline pumping situation you've ever been in. Like if you ever been in a fight and you got like sucker punched or something like that, and you're like have a ton of adrenaline, you get hit, you got hit.
Yeah.
But you're also like, that didn't hurt.
Yeah, it's like the stories that guys get stabbed and they don't realize it till like hours later.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't want to push them off because they at the moment they're like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just like, okay. He just thinks he got hit in the side. He feels the hit, but he doesn't know that it was like, oh, I got double lunged. Right. So you just like kind of back off so they can possibly like expire really close by. So we like backed off. Yeah. And then we like I said, we jumped the fence. Found the blood. He was piled up. It was like 60 yards.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the truck was like another like 60 yards the opposite direction.
So, all right. So you hit the bull. He jumps the fence, goes into a wash or in and out of a wash. You see the antlers, and then you're only 100 yards from your truck. That's like ideal.
Less than. Yeah. And well, we were less than 100, but we drove. Ronnie just jumped in his truck and drove another 50 yards.
Yeah.
We walked this motherfucker like 60 feet. It was like you couldn't have a better situation unless you killed him at your truck.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you shot him and he ran towards you and died at your feet.
Yeah.
By your truck. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the perfect situation as far as pack out goes.
Yeah.
Perfect shot. Like my arrow literally double lungs him through and through, ends up like 40 or 50 yards behind him.
Wow.
In the dirt.
Wow.
Like my arrow barely slowed down.
No shit.
Yeah. And you see on like the entry wound and exit wound, it's like the perfect shape of my broadhead.
Oh.
Just like a straight line with like a little bit of a cross.
Yeah.
Like both sides.
Wow. That's so cool.
It was perfect.
So tell me about packing out an elk. What's that like?
Well, they're heavy. I mean, it's the nice part is like we didn't have very many miles to go, right? So it's like you could like we literally just like kind of quartered them out, like rear thighs, shoulders, back straps, neck meat, and then head, right? So most of it you could just throw over your shoulder.
Yeah.
The skull is like heavy because you have all of that extra stuff that you don't really necessarily need, but I mean, if you're walking 50 fucking yards, it's not that bad.
Not bad. Yeah, but how heavy would you say the leg is?
70 or 80 pounds.
Wow.
Like the rear legs.
Yeah.
Which is where the most of the mass is.
Yeah.
70 pounds probably. Like you throw that over your shoulder, it's not fucking light.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, you got to send me that photo of the, or I think I have the photo of the backstrap that you're holding.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I put that as a photo here on the podcast because that was impressive. That's a big. That's like if you look at a deer backstrap, it's like a hot dog compared to that fucking backstrap.
It's like 4 times as big.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that Ronnie was like, hold it out in front of you. I'm like, I don't know if I can.
Wow.
Because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I don't have the shoulder power to hold this thing.
Yeah. No, man, that's really cool, man. That's the I mean, I hate to call it the hunt of a lifetime because you have more, but pretty good freaking start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really stoked about it.
So from the time you took up hunting to the day you killed a bull elk with an arrow, what's that timeline?
7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that have been hunting their whole lives that haven't killed a bull elk with a bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking good, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I had people that I talked to who also archery hunt who aren't as successful as I am. They're like, "Hey, can I steal some of your time and talk to you about?"
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm not gonna name anybody, but like, yeah, I had one of our friends that we do jiu-jitsu with. He was like, he reached out to me. He's like, "Dude, you're always so successful. Like, can I talk to you about like what you do?" And the reality is, here's the secret, guys. Like, I watch a ton of YouTube videos on different hunts.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like I just watch all of Steve Rinella's shit.
Right.
I watch Steve Rinella's shit. I watch Remy's shit. I watch
there's
Cameron
so many
Haynes shit. I watch everybody's stuff because everyone does it a little different.
Yeah.
And I try to pick apart like what is gonna like fit my style.
Yeah.
And each situation is different.
Yeah.
Right? Like how to be the quietest, how to be the most successful, like how to locating is the hardest thing, right? Like a lot of times if you just have animals in front of you, you could just like think about like being at a blind at like a water hole, right?
Yeah.
There's no skill in that.
No, it's boring as shit too.
Yeah, it's boring as fuck, right?
Yeah.
You're just waiting for an animal to come in and then you just have to be able to make a good shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there's also backcountry stuff where you're like, all right, glassing them up. All right, there's a mile away. There's a fucking, a mule deer sitting under a tree. He'll probably be there all afternoon because that's when they usually bed down, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get to him without being heard, seen, or smelled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I think I think there's like several, I don't want to say hundreds, but several, Remy's and Steve Rinellas out there that aren't as, as successful media-wise, but they still have a lot to offer.
Oh, yeah.
And what I've noticed, like, people like that are pretty generous with their information, and they just put it out there. This is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those deals where, like, if you're willing to learn, and one thing I know about you, and I hate to use the word obsession, but it's a little bit of an obsession. When you take on something, people call it hobbies. I don't consider you a hobbyist at anything. Like, you jump in with both feet and you put in a shitload of work.
Yeah.
A shitload of work. It's not like, you get drawn and you're like, oh shit, well, my hunt's in 5 months. All right, awesome. I'm going to go ride my bike for 5 months. And
Right.
I mean, you're putting in work between now and your hunt, figuring out where they are, trying to, communicate with folks like in the area. Like, what do you know? You put in a ton of fucking work, man. And that's what I need. I guess the purpose of the podcast that I wanted to do today was like to let everybody know that, yeah, you're a successful hunter, one of the most successful I know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And to kill an elk with your freaking bow in 7 years, that's really impressive, dude.
With one opportunity.
Yeah,
right.
One opportunity.
One hunt, right?
Yeah, one hunt. Yeah,
because there's people,
and you don't have like months,
right,
of opportunity. You have a week and a half.
Yeah,
basically
2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, and like here's the thing: like we live in Arizona. Like I said, the best case scenario, you're getting drawn every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
for
best case
for the shitty units.
Yeah,
right. Worst case scenario, it's every 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
If you have the right unit, it's every 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Right. 8 to 10 years, you get an opportunity to go hunt elk for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. There's people who live in Oregon, Idaho, Montana, like all of those like northwestern states.
Yeah.
They can hunt every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And there's people who will go 6 years without killing an animal.
It's wild, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I'm a better hunter than them.
No,
right?
You put in the work though.
But yeah. It's all about that work. And that's like, I like to put that into like everything that I do, just kind of like, I like to like you said, like kind of like obsess. Like I want to be successful at this and I want to learn how to be successful. we live in the best age for that.
Yeah.
YouTube is fucking wonderful.
Yeah.
Right.
Google Earth,
solo
YouTube,
hunting. I
yeah.
can look at like not even solo hunter like the show. Just like people who go solo hunting, people who go guided hunting.
Yeah.
People who just like have awesome shows like I said, Cameron Haynes, John Dudley. Like those are awesome archery hunters.
Yeah.
I'll watch their shit and I'll just like pay attention to like the dumbest details. Like what are they doing? What are they wearing? Like how are they reacting when they're around animals? Are they are they calling? Are they not calling? And then not only that, it's like it's so regional too. So like I learned a lot from Ronnie about like how to hunt elk in this particular region, this particular area, because that's what he does, man. That's his fucking thing. Like hunting with Ronnie was a godsend.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I was telling him, I was like, when I went out and scouted in this area before I even met him, I was scouting in the wrong area. Like I was in an area where I was like, oh, there's big bulls, but there was no way to hunt them with a bow. If I had a rifle, dude, I would have so many, I wouldn't have area in my house to put all the bullheads. Yeah. Like if you were to count like how many times I was within rifle range of a mature, awesome bull elk.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Wow.
Every single day.
Yeah.
So 11 days, I would have 11 fucking mature bull elk hanging in my fucking room or my house or whatever.
Yeah.
If I had a rifle.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
Right? Getting close to a bull elk. And there's just different styles. Pre-rut, they're not coming into calls. Right? There was a box sitting at one of like the crossroads in this area. And it was like literally like, hey, do us all a favor, put your calls in this box. There was a sign that said that, which I was like, I totally get. Cause like between like my time being out there by myself a little bit, hanging out with Ronnie, hanging out with other people, I heard some really fucking bad elk calls.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that necessarily, like I've also heard really bad elk calls that came from elk.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll hear an elk call from an elk, like you'll watch him do it and you're like,
weak.
That sounded like shit. But then sometimes you'll hear like a really fucking shitty elk call and you see this hunter and you're like, who are you fucking trying to call?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So it's there's a lot to it, and I don't by any means think that I'm an expert, but like there's easy ways and there's hard ways to do things, and I heard a lot of people doing it the hard way. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that they have it figured out and they don't. Yeah. And a lot of people who do have it figured out, you need to listen to. Yeah. And I think Ronnie's one of those people. Ronnie Michael, man, I think you'd be a great person to have on the podcast for sure.
I'd love to have him on. Yeah.
You'd love him.
Yeah.
And dude, man, I learned so much, and not just Ronnie, like everybody in the elk camp. Like I was the greenest person in the elk camp. Yeah. Right. And that's not to say that like, I've killed deer, I've killed javelina. Like I've been killing shit with my bow for a long time. Yeah. Right. Like, and these guys were like guides. Yeah. You know, like these guys
next level.
These guys knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from every single one of them. And it was really fucking cool experience. I fucking can't wait. It sucks that it has to be like, well, now it's gonna be 6 to 8 years before like the next time I get drawn. Yeah. But like I learned a lot, and you know, a lot of good. I learned a lot of what to do and a lot of what not to do. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we had some elk tonight. It was freaking delicious. Yeah. We seared it, smoked it, and we used my one of my students, Blair. Awesome dude, man. That garlic, that smoked garlic, was so good. Yeah, he hooked us up with some smoked salt and some smoked garlic that he does himself, and it was a great meal, man. Great meal, and I thank you for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing. Well, listen, we've been going an hour. We said we'd go an hour. We can go longer. All right, we can go longer. I don't give a fuck. You know, fuck it. Fuck everyone else's schedule. We've been drinking. That was your schedule. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Let's go an hour and a half. All right. Okay. Let's go an hour and a half. All right. So, elk hunting is out. So, what's next for you? So I still have. Well, so we have bear season coming up here, which is definitely still on my list. One of the hunting in a lot of ways is a lot like jiu-jitsu in that like there is a lot of fucking networking that goes on. Yeah. Right. Like, I think that's I won't. I'm not going to name names, but like we were talking about this earlier this week about like like this guy who wants to get a particular job, right? And we're talking about like, well, we're in the situation where we're going
to put you right in front of the right people.
We're going to put you right in front of the right people,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what's really fucking cool about jiu-jitsu is like, hey, you need air conditioning work? I know a guy. Yeah. You have a plumbing issue? I know a guy.
Yeah.
You landscaping? I know a fucking guy.
Absolutely, man. It's really amazing. I hate to call it connections, right? But it's really like just the relationships that you build.
Yeah.
And if you were to tell me, like, I don't know what I have to offer other than just a jiu-jitsu guy, but like if I had a company, and you came to me, or like say I was a mechanic, and you're like, hey man, I got a good friend that needs some help with his car, right? If you say he's cool, then he's cool.
Well, the cool thing about it too is like, if you're a guy who owns an air conditioning company, mechanic company, whatever it is, right? They're all willing to help jiu-jitsu people because of that common interest.
Yeah.
Right? And the people who need those issues are more willing to give their money to a guy that also does jiu-jitsu versus like some random fucking guy who might fuck them.
Yeah.
Right? You feel like you're less likely to get fucked by a guy in the community than you are like some random guy you met on Craigslist or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's so fucking cool. But the hunting is the same way, right? There's guys that like I did a lot of networking this past couple of weeks. Like it's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Right. So like one of the guys that I was talking to like, circle back to like what's next. Apparently he's just like a fucking savage bear hunter. And he was just like, yeah, dude, let me know when you're ready. We'll fucking, he's like, I'll put you in the right spot.
No shit. That's awesome.
And then turkey hunting next in the spring and fall, or sorry, in the spring, summer, like that, like kind of like April, May kind of area. He's dude, I saw more turkey this weekend than I've ever seen.
Wow.
Turkey, antelope, or pronghorn technically, right? Yeah. I saw more of those than I've ever seen ever.
Wow.
This past couple weeks. But then I also have deer coming up in December or in January. Like I'm tagged out for this year for deer in Javelina, so I have to wait till January 1st. And
those are over the counter hunts, right?
Yeah, for archery they are. Yeah. So
so for people who don't know, if you over the counter hunt in Arizona, they basically give you like a shitty unit to hunt. And you got to put in the work, right? You got to put in the work to get on deer. No, okay.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
So in Arizona, if you're an archery hunter, you get way more opportunity.
Archery, okay,
across the board.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The board,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because archery is infinitely more difficult than rifle hunting. Like I said, I could have 11 dead bulls if I had a rifle.
Yeah.
Right, and I killed one bull over the course of 11 days with my bow. In January, typically for archery, you have an over-the-counter tag. You can go to fucking Bass Pro Shop and get a tag. You get one per year, January 1st to December 31st. You get one per year, one kill, which starts December 15th-ish, and it goes through January 31st.
Okay.
All right. Or you also have the fall hunts, which are the velvet hunts. Like it's August 15th through September 15th, something like that. I can't remember exactly when the date is. It kind of changes-ish.
Yeah.
I think they should get rid of those hunts. That's just my opinion. Whatever. I like hardhorn. But anyways, so you can hunt over the counter from December 15th through January 31st with a bow only, and that's almost every single unit in Arizona. There's a couple exceptions, which are like the Kaibab and the Arizona Strip.
Okay.
Which is where like the biggest mule deer are killed. Yeah. But for the rest of the state, like 90% of the state, it's all over the counter for archery from December 15th through January 31st.
Gotcha.
Javelina is about the same for archery.
Okay.
You're much more limited with Javelina as far as location. But yeah, generally it's you get over the counter from December 15th through January 31st, which I can't wait to fuck till January 1st because I love hunting deer. It's the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do we have very many whitetail in Arizona? Is it mostly muleys?
No, definitely not. So I would say like from Phoenix, if you want to hunt whitetail, it's basically a little bit north. I would say just south of Payson, like the desert regions of like the southern regions of Payson.
Yeah.
All the way down to the Mexico border is going to be mostly Coues deer.
Okay.
Which is our version of whitetail.
Yeah.
They're like a small whitetail deer.
Yeah. How small?
120 pounds.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, they're not tiny.
Yeah, like a Great Dane.
Yeah, but they're not like a fucking Midwestern fucking whitetail.
Right.
You know, where they've been eating corn all year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then mule deer.
Yeah, they've been free, whatever. Yeah, eating, corn.
Free range.
Yeah, free range, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, they're eating fucking farm food.
For sure. Yeah.
Just not officially.
Yeah.
And then mule deer are generally so there's desert mule deer there's desert mule deer in McDowell's. There's desert mule deer in all the way down to like Mount Lemmon, which is like the north part of Tucson.
Yeah.
And then you can take that all the way up into Utah.
Wow.
Right. Because they're mule deer, I think, are probably the most diverse as far as region goes, as far as the deer species go. Like I said, desert to fucking high altitude, snow on the ground.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck.
Wow. Yeah. They must have been introduced, right? I don't think
mule deer.
Yeah, were they native here? I wonder. Yeah.
I would imagine that that they were here the whole time.
Huh.
There's desert mule deer. There's high mountain mule deer. There's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were on a bighorn sheep hunt not too long ago with a buddy, weren't you?
Yeah, in December. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so we were out in the Superstition Mountains. Yeah.
No shit.
That was fucking cool, dude. And so my understanding of how that worked out is that at one point they were actually extinct in the area. Then they were reintroduced, and now they're a huntable species.
Wow, that's cool. But it's like a really rare tag to get, right?
Oh, literally, in my friend's particular hunt had 4 tag holders.
Wow.
And each one of those people, whether or not you harvest or not, that's the only tag you get.
Ever.
If you get drawn for bighorn sheep in Arizona, from my understanding, you get one chance and that's it.
No second chances, as long as you live.
It's one per lifetime.
Wow. Holy shit.
And my buddy ended up killing the biggest sheep in his unit. He ended up getting so it was me and him that primarily did his hunt, but there was a couple other guys that helped. He ended up having a replica made of the skull, basically a Euro mount of the skull for all 3 of us.
So cool.
Me and the other 2 guys.
Yeah.
It's fucking cool, man. It's really cool. I don't know how I'm gonna fucking mount it because it weighs 500 pounds. It's just like this plaster mold replica, but it looks just like a Euro mount.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I just I don't know what I'm gonna do with this.
Were you there the day he killed it?
Oh, he shot my rifle.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it was a long we saw this same ram the opening day, and we got close. They kind of moved. He was like, I'm not quite sure if I wanted. He was kind of angling that he wanted.
Did he have balls hanging down to his ankles?
They all do.
Yeah.
All those fucking rams. Too.
Nice. Yeah.
But he was thinking that he wanted to do he wanted to do it archery.
Okay.
Right. And we got really fucking close. And it was a lot of fucking work to get close, but we never really got closer than 80 yards. And that wasn't even with a good shot.
That's a rough shot.
80 yards, but we were not in any clear view of this ram. And then we had to back out.
Yeah.
And then we went to a different area the next day. Another hunter hunted the same herd that day, so we went to a different spot. And then we eventually got back to that same day. We spotted the same herd. We found the same ram, and I'm like, I have my rifle in my truck.
Yeah.
If you want to get this fucking done, we can go right here because we've already hiked this area. We knew the area. We're we can hike up on this hill. He's fucking getting ready to bed in this wash. 200-yard shot, right?
Wow.
So we hike up to this area. He's literally bedded right next to this cactus, almost exactly 200 yards from where we shot.
Wow.
I'm like, I've already dialed the pin, put it on his vitals, and squeeze the trigger.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So he fucking shoots this fucking ram, and he doesn't even get out of his bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have to hike all the way around to go get him and all that kind of stuff. But it was awesome.
Stupid question though. Stupid question. Are they like edible or do they taste like shit?
They're good. Yeah, they're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just like any other species.
Okay.
I think the thing that I was like really surprised at is like they're like pretty fucking tick infested.
Yeah.
Like he had a lot of ticks on him. Like so my buddy Eddie, who like,
I can't get past the nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You don't eat those. Some people
I know,
do.
but
That's not
yeah.
my thing.
Anyway.
But like my buddy who like who killed the ram, right? Like had like the the head and the cape because he wanted to get it like he wants to get it mounted. He was like, dude, I ended up finding like ticks on me and like I'm like, well, all I carried out was like regular meat, so like I didn't have that issue. But like I did notice as we were like caping him out that like there was ticks and shit on him, and I was like, that's so weird. I didn't think there was ticks in the desert, but
I'm sure there are. Yeah,
he was covered in ticks. Wow. Yeah. But I've killed deer out, in the desert, and like I've never had like ticks on deer. So, but yeah, he was covered in ticks. That was the only thing that surprised me. We got out in the dark. Oh, that was hairballs because like my buddy's not in like the best of shape, so we were going down.
That's scary.
Definitely like some sketchy shit.
And superstitions are unforgiving.
Yeah. Like I mean, me. Like I'm a fucking mountain goat.
Yeah.
Like, as it comes to like kind of shit. So I'm fine. Yeah. I was fine with it.
I bet I had a heart rate of 240 trying to chase you up a fucking hill when you and I went hunting. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm used to like, fucking, huffing it through like the shittiest of terrain. So I ended up giving him my headlamp because I knew he was struggling.
Yeah.
Because like we didn't expect to like be out till night because this was like from the morning we spotted this guy, ran up on him, shot him, came around, did the whole like quartering and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't expect to be coming out in the dark. We did. We had to come down this fucking scree hill of a fucking wash.
Dude, what the superstitions taught me was that you got to have a few things. Like any hike I do out there, I have a headlamp.
Headlamp is minimum.
I have a way to boil water.
Mm-hmm.
I have some kind of rope to, if I have to fashion some kind of, shelter, right? And some way to start a fire.
Yeah.
I always have that shit in my pack, and it all fits into a little bottle.
Yeah.
So it's at the bottom of my pack because I've been out there for 13 hours once because we basically got lost.
Yeah.
And any one of those things would have made my life better.
Some sort of water filtration for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Like if you have like a steri straw.
Yep. Steri straws are great. Yeah.
Super light.
Yep.
Works everywhere.
Yep.
But in the desert, there's not always water. So
yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Having water on you is obviously
critical.
Primary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But a headlamp, because for me, I'm like, I don't care if I'm dehydrated. If as long as I can see where I'm going, I'm fucking getting out.
You can get one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
Like I'll fucking get out of there and be like, I need to go to the hospital and get an IV.
Right,
but I will get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So headlamp is like, I have 2 headlamps in my pack at all times.
Yeah.
I have one on my waistband and one in the top part of my pack.
Yeah. When it comes to headlamps, one is none.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely want to.
Yeah. 2 is 2. You always want to have 2 just in case. Extra batteries is always a plus.
Or they just fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes they just fail.
Yeah.
Or worse, you lose the back of it. The back comes off, so you can't keep the batteries in it.
Luckily, I've never had that happen. But yeah, I always have at the very least one headlamp.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I like this elk hunt. I didn't really because we were always like within a couple of miles from a road, so it was always like, and I always had my headlamp on me. I never was really worried about that one failing. There was a couple times where where other friends had tagged out, and we were like hiking it, or like so my buddy Cole tagged out one day, and we were like, he shot this bull off of this wallow. He said it was a good shot. It ended up being a really good shot, and he didn't go that far. But it was just like right before sundown going, and we couldn't really find him.
Yeah.
Right. So I had my headlamp. Everyone was kind of using their cell phones for a while, and we ended up having to back out that night and then come back in the morning.
Damn.
They found him like first thing the next morning. He didn't like actually go that far.
Yeah.
But like that was a situation where like if we all had our headlamps, we could have like hunted.
Kept going. Yeah.
For the whole night until we found him. Like I always have a headlamp.
Yep.
At least a headlamp.
Yep.
It's there's there's no substitute for it. We can't see in the dark, right?
Nope.
So there's no substitute. You need to have a headlamp.
Yeah, and there's times like if the moon is bright enough, you can see the trail just fine.
Yeah.
So you can kind of conserve batteries and only use it when you need it. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, we had the double-edged sword where like we had no like the start of our hunt was no moon, which is perfect, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want when you're hunting.
Yep.
Because it means the animals aren't up all night.
Yep.
Right. They bed down when it's too dark for them to see. But if there's like quarter moon, half moon, full moon, they're up all night.
Yeah.
Because like towards the end of the hunt, like you'd wake up, take a piss, like, and you'd hear bugling.
Wow.
Like they're up all night.
Yeah.
Because they can see.
They can see. Yeah. 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 It's wild, man. Yeah. But so. Do you have an idea, like when you go get an over-the-counter tag, do you have an idea where you're going to go?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have my favorite spots. I think most people who hunt pretty regularly have a spot or two that they're like, this is where I'm headed. Yeah, I have a spot that I know I'm going. It's very rare that I don't. Like, it just, if I'm hunting something that I haven't killed yet, like I have yet to kill a black bear in Arizona, so I'm still like, I have a handful of spots that I like to like frequent that I know that there are bear at, but I've yet to actually like capitalize on that. So
yeah, what's the draw of a like what's the by draw I mean interest? What's the draw on a black bear hunt?
So the way the black bear hunting in Arizona goes is there's a quota per unit. So like unit 1, unit 2, unit 22, whatever it is. There's a number of sows, so female black bear that you're allowed to kill. Once that number of female black bear are killed, they close the unit. So you have to report, right? Say like you have a unit, say 22. Say they have a limit of 3 sows, and like they kill 100 boars, so male bears, right? That's fine. They don't care. You can kill as many male bears as you want, but as soon as that third sow gets killed, they close the unit.
No shit.
Yeah, and that could happen first day. That could happen. It could never happen, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Can you tell the difference between the two? Because I know like brown bear, they got the boars have like humps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're bigger. And
they
you can
have
tell.
they have that kind of stuff where, but they're not as like sexually dimorphic as like obviously like a deer. You're like, oh, that one has antlers, that one doesn't.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Gotcha.
Like, it's stuff like what you're talking about. Like they have a hump, bigger head, that kind of stuff. But like, if you're not comparing it to another bear, it's hard to say like, well, does that bear have a big head?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So this is like definitely post mating season. They've already had their cubs. You know what I mean? So
yes and no. Like, so there's spring bear hunts and then there's fall bear hunts. Fall bear hunts are really what you want if you want a big fatty bear, like you want to eat the meat.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, they're getting ready for.
Yeah, they're getting ready to hibernate.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Or Arizona bears don't really hibernate because it's never that cold.
Yeah. But do they follow the same patterns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're definitely like plumping up over the summer and fall. Spring bears are like they just went through a whole because they're still eating like berries, prickly pear fruit, like that kind of stuff. Like,
are they omnivores?
Yeah. Yeah. They'll eat vegetables. They'll eat fruit. They'll eat, if like people who kill elk, like they'll definitely get on that.
Okay.
Like that carcass after you do it. Right.
Yeah.
But like like after the winter is when there's the least amount of fruit or food or in general, right? So during the winter time, they definitely lose a lot of weight. So the spring bear are going to be smaller than the fall bear.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. And then you can't kill a sow that has cubs. So if you find a bear that has like little, tiny little cubs hanging out with it, you can't kill that.
Gotcha.
Right. And that's not to say that people don't, but
yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah.
But you're not supposed to.
Right.
So, but those are they have over the counter rifle tags for those spring and fall, but it's off the quota system. So after X amount of sows have been killed, that unit's closed and you can't hunt there. You have to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And do you have to deal with like trichinosis and stuff like that with the bear meat here or no?
That's a good question. I mean, from my understanding is that we don't have trichinosis issues in Arizona.
Okay.
But I think the common it's just like eating pork from the grocery store. Generally speaking, there's no trichinosis in pigs that are farmed in the United States.
Yeah.
But you want to risk it?
Fuck no.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat a medium rare fucking pork, whatever pork chop. But did you hear Steve Ranella when he talked about getting trichinosis?
Yeah, and that's with you for life.
Pretty brutal. Yeah.
You don't get rid of that.
Yeah, he said if there's ever like a zombie apocalypse and he gets eaten, joke's on them.
Yeah, I mean that's just the way it goes. It's like trichinosis is kind of like one of those things. It's like once you get it,
it goes dormant, right? They can treat it and it goes dormant, but it's still in you. Yeah,
they're always going to be in your like your muscular tissue. Like, and it's my understanding is it's really painful.
Yeah.
Like, so no thanks. I'll cook it well done.
Yeah, no shit.
Or just roast it.
Well, cool, man. Well, good luck with the bear hunt. Good luck with the deer hunt, javelina, all that other shit, man. Yeah. No, this was fun, man. Like, I was curious to hear the full story. I mean, I know we had dinner, and my biggest problem is when we're at dinner, I don't shut the fuck up long enough to let you finish your story. So I'm glad.
Well, if you want, I can before we shut off, I can give like the full that morning story.
Yeah, hit it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. So to close out, I'll give the full hunt story. Nothing censored, none of that kind of stuff. So Ronnie and I wake up day 11. We're kind of like almost reserved to like I'll fucking shoot anything at this point because this is day 11 of a 14-day hunt, right? We're getting towards the back end of the hunt, and it's like I'd rather kill a spike than not go home with anything, right? So we're like, all right, cool. Let's just get out there. Let's find the fucking bulls. Let's fucking put an arrow through one, right? So we go to our favorite spot, which is like the northeast end of this like there's a big ranch. It's the northeast end of this ranch that's on public land. Like the ranch is private, right? You can't hunt the private area, but like this whole area around it is like full of like springs and feeding areas and watering holes and all that kind of shit, right? So it's perfect terrain or perfect habitat for herds of elk, right? So this is the area that we've seen the most big bulls, right? So we go to this area, we head to this the first spot, which is like kind of like the closest part to where we're camped, and we drive in on this like really shitty, bumpy dirt road, right? We start driving in, we see a couple of trucks like halfway down the road, right? And we're like, well, fuck it. They're probably just like hunting this particular area. We're going to go down to the end of the road, which is closer to where we're headed, which is like the spring that just like basically turns into this stream, tons of water, tons of like, vegetation, perfect elk habitat, right? So we start driving down this road, and then we eventually run into the hunters who are just basically parked up the road, and then they're hiking the rest of the way in. So we're like, well, fuck, we should probably back out. So we back out of there, and we go back to the main road, and we go up and around and go to the complete opposite side of this area, and we park right off the highway, off this like private road ish, right? It's a private road, but the area is public land. It's a private road that leads to private land, but the area itself is actually public. So we park here and we start hiking in, and so we're just basically like if we started on the east end, now we're on the west end, heading to the same exact spring, right? So we go to the west end, and we get out of the truck, and we immediately hear bulls bugling. So we're like, okay, fuck yeah, we're in the right spot. We start heading towards the spring because that's the direction of where these bulls are coming from. We figure that's where they're going for their morning like water, morning food, all that kind of stuff. So we start heading over there, and we hear bugling on both ends. So like I said, it's a spring that turns into a stream, right? So on the south end of this spring, or where the spring actually like originates from, there's a bull in that direction, and then towards the bottom end of the spring, which is in the north area of this spring of where the stream heads, there's another bull or two. It's hard to say, right? Screaming. So we start heading towards the bigger one, which is more towards the spring head. We're getting close. We hear him. He's like, okay, he's maybe 100 yards that way. We start getting closer, and we look across the spring, and we see those same hunters that we saw on the other side. So they're like on the same bull we are. So we're like getting closer, and the bull just keeps pushing off. And that's not to say that like he's like spooked or anything. Bulls just move, right? And he's screaming, so we know where he is every time he screams, right? So every time he screams, he just like is just farther and farther and farther away. I'm like, we're kind of just chasing our tail on this bull. So we change our mind, we change our tactics because we're like, these hunters are going after this bull. They're probably going to end up spooking him. So let's just back off of this bull and go the other direction. So we back off, We start going more north towards the other bull, and we're moving. He's moving away, right? These bulls are moving away from each other. So the bull that's more on the northern end, he starts moving more and more north. So we start following more and more north. And then we hear a second bull, and we're like, well, that one's closer. Let's start following him. So we start following him, following. We eventually get to the origination of this sound, and it ends up being another hunter.
Oh, shit.
So we like literally get called in.
Pretty good.
We get called in by this hunter.
Yeah.
And we're like just following, and we're just being super quiet. We're just like listening to the bugles and getting closer and closer and closer. And it turns out one of them ends up being a hunter. We don't know that the other one wasn't a hunter or was a bugle from an actual bull, or we're not. We just know that this one ended up being a hunter. So we're kind of like chilling. We're like kind of like, well, the morning's ruined, right? That's it. So we're kind of just like listening, and we see the one hunter that like originally bugled, and then he was with another guy, and we hear this guy scream out a bugle that like sounded like dog shit. I'm like, well, that one I'm definitely not coming to.
Yeah.
And we're like, we see these guys. They don't know that we're there, but we see them. And then we start heading. We're like, all right, you know what? Let's just start heading back to the truck. The morning's ruined because we have two sets of hunters on both ends of the spring that are chasing, two different bulls. So we start heading back. On the way out, we had to cross a big meadow, like this big open meadow with no trees or anything like that. So on the way back, we're like, well, let's just check the meadow to see if anything's crossing. We get to the tree line where the meadow starts, and we see this bull pushing his cows across the meadow, basically in the direction of where our truck is parked. So we're like, oh, fuck. And the wind isn't perfect. Like, the wind is basically rolling more or less parallel to where the direction of where this bull and and the cows are going. So, like, if we cut too far in front, our wind is going to go right towards them. So we start like running across the tree line, trying to get in front of where they were, but not too early so that our smell gets like kind of blown towards them. So we're kind of like paralleling them. And this bull is actually like in the meadow, like he'll yell every couple of minutes, right? So we're like, we'll run a few hundred yards and then we'll listen. He's like, okay, cool. We're still perpendicular to the wind, right? So we keep running, and listening for the bugle. We eventually get to like that private road that leads us to where our truck is, and we like chop the fence. We get to our truck, and we're like, oh, all right, I guess we lost them. They must have either heard us, smelled us, ran off, whatever it is.
Hey, real quick, were you trying to make your way back to the truck, or was this like just happenstance that where you were going in that direction?
They just happened to be heading back towards our truck.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And
yeah.
there just happened to be like a big meadow between us and the truck. So we're just going around, staying in the tree line to stay out of sight, but also trying to stay downwind as much as we could. Right. And they just happened to be heading directly towards the truck.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So we're trying to go around this meadow, staying in the tree line, all that good stuff. And we're listening, trying to make sure that we stay in front, but without letting our wind get blown at them, right? We get to the truck, and at that point we're like kind of like, shit, I think they might have heard us or smelt us because we're not hearing anything. So Ronnie opens his truck up. I take off my pack, I throw it in the truck, and then all of a sudden we hear this big fucking scream, and he is 100 yards away from our truck down the fence line. So I'm like, oh, fuck.
What time of day?
This is probably 8 in the morning.
Oh, shit.
7:30, 8 in the morning. Right? Like, but sun up is at 6. Mm-hmm. So at this point, we've already been out for, 2 hours.
A couple hours, yeah.
Yeah, or more, right? Because we were out there before sunup. So we're like, I hear this big fucking bugle 100 yards down the fence line. So I start moving with my bow. Ronnie's like, hold on. He starts, getting behind me so we can be together, right? So so we finally meet up together, and we get to this kind of like, we're maybe like, I don't know, 20 or 30 yards away from the truck, and we can see the fence line, and we can see the cows jumping the fence, right? And the one thing you'll know is like from watching like elk move is that like the bull is always the last in that line. So if you see cows hopping the fence, the bull is going to be the last one to hop the fence because he's pushing them.
Gotcha.
Right? So we're like, oh, fuck yeah. So we stop where we are. We're watching this fence line, this area, and the cows are jumping, and all of a sudden the bull steps out in his shooting lane. Ronnie cow calls. He stops. He looks right at us. He ranges him. He's like 70 yards. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. So I dial my sight on so I have an adjustable pin so I can adjust to the yardage. So I adjust my sight to 70 yards. And Ronnie at the same time is like cow calling. So just to make sure that this bull is just like, what the fuck's going on over there? There must be a cow.
Yeah.
So I draw, and I'm like, I don't have a clear line of sight. Like Ronnie's in the clear line of sight. I have a tree in the way. So I draw my bow and I take 2 steps to my left, which puts me right in the shooting lane. And I start settling my pin on his vitals. And like I was saying earlier, I'm like, this bull is too big to miss. So I just like settle my pin, center mass above his elbow, and I start pulling back. I start squeezing slowly, boom. I hear that fucking, I feel the arrow releases, and I hear that hollow thud of like what it sounds like when you hit an animal in the lungs, right? Because just think like your lung cavity is hollow, right? It's mostly air, right? So I hit this thing, and he fucking takes off back towards the fence.
I think of it like putting a knife through a drum head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's very much like that.
Yeah.
It's so much different than like if you hit like a foam target.
Yeah.
It's like when you hit an animal like in the lungs, it's like it's a big balloon.
It's hollow.
It's a big flesh balloon, right?
Yeah.
So I hit it, and he's like, "Did you hit it?" I'm like, "Dude, I watched that arrow go right into this, right where I was aiming. It was perfect." And he's like, "It sounded like it hit good." And I was like, "Dude, it sounded like it hit good." So we sat there, and then of course, like somebody had like called Ronnie, so he answered the phone. He's like, I think Tojo just fucking smoked this bull. And we're just sitting there. Like,
was the bull already gone?
Yeah, the bull had already booked it. Yeah, and he was like, Tojo just smoked this bull. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I fucking smoked him. I'm 90% sure that was a perfect shot.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like chilling. We go back to the truck a little bit because like I said, you want to give him some time. You don't want to fucking push him, right? So we give him a couple seconds. Like Ronnie's, telling one of our hunting friends that was there that week also. He's like, Tojo just smoked this big bull. I'm like, fuck yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, he was at 70 yards. Let's go look.
And Ronnie's like the black belt out there, right?
When it comes to elk hunting.
Yeah.
So we're going out there, and Ronnie actually does train jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Yeah.
He was a fighter. He trained jiu-jitsu. He trained with Paul back in the day.
Okay.
His friend Aaron Davis was Gustavo's first American blue belt.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're ex-military. Like I said, they'd be great podcast
I'd
guests.
love to have him on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll fucking bring Ronnie on.
Let's do it.
But anyways, so we're sitting there, and we like go over there, and I'm like looking. I'm like, all right, where's the blood? Like I'm like, all right, and turning back to where I shot. I'm like, all right, so I'm about 70 yards. This is where he was standing. I'm like looking. I'm like, I don't see my arrow. I don't see any blood. I start walking towards the fence from there, and I'm like, we're both like kind of like gritting the area, like trying to look for like signs of where this bull might have went. I'm looking. I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. I'm like, fuck, maybe I didn't hit him. I start getting like the doubt.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I see a drop of blood, and then I see a bigger drop of blood. I'm like, oh, between him and where the fence is, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I definitely fucking hit him. So I tell Ronnie, I'm like, I found blood. I definitely fucking hit him. All right. So I'm like, that's a good sign. I definitely hit him. And then like towards the fence.
How long, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But how long from the time you left the truck, right? Because you shot him, you went back to the truck.
Yeah.
How long from the time you
5 minutes.
How long from the time you shot him to the time you found that first drop of blood? How much time did you give the elk?
10 minutes.
Okay. So not bad.
Yeah. 10 minutes. Like, because I didn't want to like go chasing after him, but I wanted visual signs that I definitely hit him.
Yeah.
Right. So like as soon as we like chilled for a minute, we went to that area, and I'm like looking for blood. I'm like, I need to find blood or my arrow or something. Right. So I'm like, I'm looking. And I finally find that blood. It's like I said, 10, maybe 15 minutes after I shot. I find that blood. I'm like, cool. I know I hit him.
Yeah.
And then we like look towards the fence, and like I said, most of the time when an animal like is shot and they hit a fence, when they hit the ground as they jump the fence, like they'll have that like spurt of blood that comes out of their wound.
Yep.
And we didn't see anything like that. So we're like, shit. Well, let's just cross the fence and see what happens. So we cross the fence, and we find that wash. Ronnie's a little bit ahead of me. He finds that big spurt of blood, and it's like the size of a dinner plate. I'm like,
Wow.
he's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. We just have to find him.
Yeah.
And then, so like we're in this ditch a little bit, and I look up over the ditch, and I fucking just see him in the tree, and I am stoked. I'm like, fuck yeah, Ronnie, there he is. Look at him, he's fucking huge. I'm super stoked.
Yeah.
And Ronnie's filming it. There's a video of it, and I'm like, it's fucking cool.
That's
man.
so cool.
He's filming me because he's like, he knows this is my first fucking elk.
Yeah.
So he's like filming me, and he's like, it was awesome.
I can't wait to see that. That's cool.
Yeah. I'll have him send it to us.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's like he was like, maybe I had to guess, like realistically, maybe 70 to 100 yards from where he got hit to where he died. Just like maybe 50 or 60 yards from, or 50 yards from the fence at the most.
Yeah.
And then Ronnie was able to drive his truck right to the fence.
Beautiful.
It was fucking awesome.
Yeah. So he was probably having a lot of internal bleeding, right? Rather than, pouring blood.
I
out.
mean, it was a through and through, like double lung, like he didn't go like an elk can go a long distance with like a stomach shot or a liver shot.
Yeah.
Like, but lungs is like
they're
game
done.
over. That's
yeah,
game over.
They're done.
Yeah, he did not go very far. I think honestly, like, so I was shooting iron wills. So they're a fixed broadhead again. So they have about, I think, 1.25 inches is their primary cutting diameter, and then they have a 1/2 inch bleeders, so a 1/4 inch on each side. So
blades going in 4 directions, basically.
yeah. So but it's technically like still a kind of a small cutting diameter. So the blood trail wasn't great, but dude, that arrow didn't slow down.
Yeah.
That arrow hit the fucking lungs on one side, went out the other, fucking went another like 30, 40, 50 yards, and fucking dug itself in the dirt. Like,
wow.
Like if you see my Instagram, there's a picture of the arrow, how I found it.
Yeah.
Just like laying in the dirt. Like, and this was tens of yards past where he hit.
Yeah.
And
that's so cool.
Perfect. And the arrow's like, I could shoot it through another animal. Like,
no shit.
yeah.
Wow. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was fucking awesome morning. Like, it was just like, we went from like, we got called in by another hunter to like, we killed the bull that they all wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 different groups of hunters. We killed the bull that everyone wanted.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations, brother.
Yeah.
And thank you again for sharing the meat. Can't wait to do this again, man.
Yeah, of course.
And good luck on the deer hunt, the bear hunt, the javelina, all the other shit.
Yes, sir.
Keep it going, man.
Let's keep it going.
All right, everybody. Listen, if you love the podcast or even if you hate the podcast, please like and subscribe. Please give us a review on Spotify and YouTube. Come talk your shit. I love
At
it.
me, pussies. At me.
Don't worry, there'll be a lot of shit talking. A lot of hunters that haven't killed a damn thing will be telling you how to do this shit. But listen, I really enjoy the comments. I blocked my first commenter the other day.
Oh, that pussy.
Well, he said something that really, really pissed me off.
Did he hard R you?
No. He just like, I had a guest on the show that was talking about like, what women go through, just like.
Oh, your last podcast.
Yeah. Just like the women who are trained or untrained, like she was just trying to explain that they're always on guard. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And this guy said something like, oh, now I gotta deal with my insecurities and yours. I was like, you know what? For the first time, he's the only person I've ever blocked. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you, man. You know what I mean? Like, I can handle like personal attacks on me.
Sounds like a pussy.
Yeah. But just like spoken like a true fucking creeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could remember his fucking name because I'd put him on blast right now. But just like a fucking creeper. Now I got to deal with your insecurities and mine. Go fuck yourself,
Hey, if
pal.
that sounds like you, please at me, bro.
Yes, please. Well, he's blocked from. Well, I have my personal Instagram. Please, fucking hit me up. I'll even put you on the show just so I could fucking put you on blast. I'll put you on the show, bro. Anyway, but I was so pissed off.
Dirtbags. Insecure dirtbags.
Just an insecure piece of crap. I hope you get hit by a car. You know
Not
what I
dead,
mean?
but I want you to be paralyzed.
Yeah, no, not even paralyzed. Just like go, like hit the windshield, flip over. You know what I mean? And like everybody, hey, look at that idiot.
I want you to be sore for a month.
Yes, that's what I want. That's what I like. And get hit by a Prius. Not even a cool car. Get hit by a fucking Prius. Anyway, I hope, you know what? I stopped short of saying I hope he dies. I don't hope he dies, but I hope he gets hit by a Prius. Anyway, guys.
Nobody's ever died from getting hit by a Prius.
Yeah. If you know the guy, please give him a lot of shit for me. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. It means a lot. The comments mean a lot. It means that you're listening and you're being active. Butter Smooth, the USS Michael Murphy, my daughter's old ship. But anyway, guys, thank you again for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Curry Wagon, JT's Curry Wagon. Oh, and BioProtect. Our sponsor, BioProtect. Thank you. I feel so much better after taking my BioProtect. I do the morning and the evening one. Get $30 off your order if you use the code Foxcast. Thanks, guys.
Let's go.